summer session. It is Monday, June 10th, 2024. Before we begin with informative speech research, let's finish up demonstrative speeches. It's not unusual for people early on to send stuff to me technically after the deadline. Not really an issue early on because, of course, we're not only working with the new technology, Blackboard Ultra, but many of you may have issues just being able to record on Loom or Microsoft SharePoint, making certain that the materials are in your sent email file, and then sending me the take that you think is most representative of your abilities for that particular project. So, we're going to go ahead and play this speech first. Then we'll get into informative speech week. But first of all, let's get to our demonstrative speech, and here it is.
Hi everyone, my name is Shakira Thompson and I'm an accounting major. And today I'm going to do a demonstration on how to wax armpits. So, a little bit history behind waxing started with the Egyptians. They spent most of their time removing hair as a symbol of high class and wealth. So they used beeswax to remove every piece of strand that they could. So a few tips before you wax yourself or before you get a wax. First, do not drink caffeine 30 minutes prior to your wax. I don't know what it will do to your body, but um I just read it like around the first time that I got a wax and I just went with it. Take pain medication 30 minutes to an hour before your wax. I didn't include the hour part. It just depends what medicine you're taking and how your pain tolerance is. Even though I have a low pain tolerance, I don't take medicine anymore because I don't want to wax myself, and I never plan when I'm waxing. So, but yeah, like if you have low pain tolerance, like 30, take medicine 30 minutes to an hour, and it should like kick in by the time you get your wax. Next, have 3 weeks of hair growth. Do not shave around the time that you're finna wax. Do not shave. Um, like that goes along with don't irritate the area because shaving can give you razor bumps. And if you wax and have razor bumps, that's not a good combination. It's going to burn, it's going to hurt, and you're going to feel like you shouldn't have got a wax. But just don't do that. And then you don't want to have like a little amount of hair by the time it's time for you to wax because you don't want like the wax to rip off your skin. And then this is exfoliate. I'll say exfoliate before and after. Like if you exfoliate before, then it'll make your hair softer and like easier to deal with. But if you don't, like it's still okay. But then you can exfoliate after, so like your skin won't like feel rough after, or it won't it'll be like real smooth and stuff. So some people may ask, why is waxing better than shaving? I'll say that ever since I started waxing, I used to like my armpit, I used to have like a dark spot, but now like when you wax, the dark spot like removes, and I actually looked it up, and like waxing will help like your armpits become lighter and stuff like that. And then razor bumps, when you're shaving, you get razor bumps, and razor bumps can hurt. Razor bumps can be like make your skin look like it's not healthy or anything, and waxing doesn't give you razor bumps. And then if you wax, then it'll shrink your hair follicles, which means um like if you shave, your hair is going to grow back in like a few days to a week. But if you wax, then it's gonna take like 3 to 8 weeks for your hair to grow back. Especially like the more you wax, like more it'll take for your hair to grow back. Why should you know how to shave yourself? Because for one, waxing, going to get a wax costs a lot of money. And it's not like a lot, but like depending on what you're getting waxed, it's like up to like $85. And I'd rather buy a wax kit that's like $30 at max from like Shein, Amazon, Temu, like any of those. And instead of paying $85 for just one time wax. And then um it doesn't like it'll decrease the chance of somebody burning you or like irritating your skin. Like even if you burn yourself, it's better if you do it yourself instead of somebody else doing it to you, because then it's going to seem like, oh, she burnt me on purpose or something like that. And then you'll know if your supplies is clean. You don't know if other people use the same stick on somebody else. You don't know if other people use the same wax on somebody else, if they clean their products, but you know what you do. So, okay, so when you're waxing, the materials you're going to need is a popsicle stick, baby powder, pre and after wax treatment, and hard wax beads and a wax melt machine. So step one, gather your supplies and pour the hard wax beads into the wax warmer. So those are hard wax beads, and hard wax you won't need the paper. How some people put wax on and then they put a paper. You won't need that with hard wax. That's not what that's for. Next, you're going to stir the wax beads like when it's been in there for a while. Make sure that when you turn your wax machine on, you turn it on high so it can like melt faster. And then you're going to test the strip on the back of your hand. If it is tacky and easy to pull off and not hot enough, it's not ready. But if it's like hard to come off and it's hot and it lays down smooth, then that means it's ready. So step three, you're going to place baby powder on your armpit. It's just so moisture. So like the wax is easier to lay on there, easier to come off, and like it won't remove any wax from the moisture under your armpit. Step four, you're going to spray pre-treatment on your armpit, and this after wax treatment as well. I don't use that when I'm doing it myself, but you can if you want to. So then step five, you're going to apply the wax in circular direction, meaning when you're waxing, you're going to like have your stick this way instead of it got wax on. Instead of like flat down because you want it to turn it so you'll have like a piece to peel and so it can like be evenly spread out. Um then you're going to make sure like before you put on you're going to make sure you know which direction your hair is going so that you can like lay it in the opposite direction, rip it in the opposite direction. Step six, you're going to peel the wax up and rip it. Hold your hand like as soon as you rip it, put your hand on the place that you waxed because then like it'll stop the pain. Okay, and then here's a demonstration video. I'm gonna use the sound. Okay, so those are hard wax beads, and then okay, okay, she put it. See, she's putting it on high. She put the top on. She's stirring it, and then I don't think she tested it to see if it was hot enough, but you can also tell like by eye. Okay, so she's putting baby powder to soak up the moisture, and then you see how she got the stick sideways, and then she's going in a circular direction so she could grab that piece up there and then she's going to pull it. And then she put her hand right there. But hopefully this helped y'all and motivated y'all to start waxing and know what y'all doing if y'all wax. And thank you for watching.
It's always fascinating to watch these types of demonstrations because even though, as you can see from the timer, it ran 9 minutes, it didn't drag. Whenever I have on the syllabus 4 to 6 minutes, if you feel like, depending upon what the project is, you want to go a little bit longer because your slides dictate you can be extemporaneous and conversational for a couple of extra minutes, that's fine. Where you run into difficulty in my class is if one, you run really under time, under 4 minutes, or two, there are some issues with your slides in terms of misspellings or not having enough or not having any. Now let's mute her audio, restart it. Whenever you're recording on Loom, you can check the transcript in two different ways. With my subscription, and I don't know if it's the same if you've got the 30-day free subscription, but the transcript automatically comes up. In all of your cases, I would check the transcript if you're on Loom or check the closed captioning here to always double check to make certain of two things. One, you're speaking in as much of a complete sentence structure as possible. And two, if an or an comes up, don't freak out. That's how you're going to learn. Where does a dead spot come? And instead of filling it with an or an you just go back to some part of your slide and discuss it. In this case, the misspelling of caffeine is not going to be an issue. You don't have spell check on slides in the same way as you would with a Microsoft Word document most of the time. But it's really fascinating for me to notice not only the placement of where she has her webcam, and remember, in Loom, bottom left, as Microsoft SharePoint, bottom left is the default position. You can move this back and forth. And I shouldn't do it while I'm recording because sometimes it actually pops out on me. I'm still learning the technologies I indicated on Thursday. Let's go ahead to roughly about the 7-minute mark where she brings in the video. From this point on, let's go ahead and play it in its entirety, this way with the audio up.
So you'll have like a piece to peel, and so it can like be evenly spread out. Then you're going to make sure, like before you put on, you're going to make sure you know which direction your hair is going so that you can like lay it in the opposite direction, rip it in the opposite direction. Step 6, you're going to peel the wax up and rip it. Hold your hand, like as soon as you rip it, put your hand on the place that you waxed because then like it'll stop the pain. Okay, and then here's a demonstration video. I'm gonna use the sound. Okay, so those are hard wax beads, and then okay, okay, she put it. See, she's putting it on high. She put the top on. She's stirring it, and then I don't think she tested it to see if it was hot enough, but you can also tell like by eye. Okay, so she's putting baby powder to soak up the moisture. And then you see how she got the stick sideways. And then she's going in a circular direction so she could grab that piece up there and then she's going to pull it. And then she put her hand right there. But hopefully this helped y'all and motivated y'all to start waxing and know what y'all doing if y'all wax. And thank you for watching.
Most of you look already at ease on camera. She certainly does. And you can tell when people have practiced, because she was pretty consistent all the way through, looking in the direction of the webcam. Part of that has to do with the location of the webcam in relation to your slides, but you could tell that she, as well as the rest of you, know your material pretty well. As I told you the first day of class, now it's a matter of cleaning up some of the verbal issues like vocalics, drop G's, grammar, or slang that you may not have been aware of. Let's mute the audio and then just look at some of her slides. In terms of the design consistency, the creativity of how she's taking her headlines, her bullet points, using all of these to not only demonstrate the process, like with the video, but make it interesting for an audience to comprehend. All of that really does matter. So she got us off to a positive start today. If there is anyone left before we go to Blackboard Ultra for today that still needs to hand in a demonstrative speech, please make certain that I get it as soon as possible, because I want to memorialize those in graded class periods. Again, early on, it's not an issue. If you've got connectivity issues, job issues, always contact me, because I don't want to penalize someone for any type of technical issues that are beyond your control. Openness, transparency is really important. I can't help you if you don't contact me. But as you can see from watching the course videos in real time, I think, and I'm a glass half full person, we're doing quite well. But now we're going to transition into informative data for the week. I'm in the student preview mode of Blackboard Ultra at the announcements location. What has changed, obviously, is this is week 3, and in green, Thursday instructor course videos will be recorded and posted in the evenings. Week 2 for demonstrative presentations. Week 3 for informative this week. Week 4 next week for persuasive speeches. And the final week, number 5, for the wild card, to include all graded speeches for that week. Then, of course, keep in mind with my email address, submit informative speech videos or links to videos to my SAU email address, jereppert@saumag.edu, that are submitted no later than Thursday of this week at 5:30 p.m. I'll always record on Thursday a little bit later. So for those of you who sent me material for class today, or maybe for class tomorrow for the demonstrative, just try to feel more comfortable with the technology, and it'll make things a lot more convenient for us instead of backing and filling. Again, it's not an issue early on. Now, to the content area of Blackboard Ultra, the module overview for this week. Placing this online for the record with informative speaking, where you're serving primarily as a teacher or lecturer. The nice part about having material available online, not only through Blackboard Ultra, but also on my YouTube channel, is that you can watch all different kinds of speeches. You can go to my website, with also a link on the website, and see what people have done over the past 10 to 12 years. Then in the instructor information area of the syllabus, there's a link to my website. Again, those are primarily outlines, but it certainly helps in terms of the storytelling ability. A link to my YouTube channel. And then at the course syllabus, something that we will get to today, the Getting Started video tutorials on Loom. I'll show those to you at the end of class, but here is, again, for the record, our itinerary in terms of informative speaking this week, research Monday, topic selection Tuesday, a little bit more of both on Wednesday so you can take those extra 24 hours to prepare for the speeches, which will all be shown on Thursday of this week. We're already moving along. We're not that far from the halfway point of the first summer session. When we scroll down to instructor course videos, you can watch yourself in real time from Thursday of last week. Among the 4 people who gave me speeches, you can break those down, see what I think you did well, what needs some work. Also, let me skip down here. Current examples of student speech videos from Summer 1, 2024. If you would like to see your classmates' presentations in their entirety, DIY slime or handmade felty, among others, you click on these links and you can watch them. Regarding our informative speech research, previous examples of student speech videos from 2020 to 2023, this is basically not an inclusive list, but representing what people have done over the past 3 years. Summer 1, 2023, Summer 1, 2022, Summer 1, 2021, Spring 2021, Fall Intersession of 2020, Fall of 2020, Summer 1 of 2020, Spring of 2020, these 3 examples that were done during the pandemic. So I'll probably show you all of these today, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but this just scratches the surface. I'm going to show you homeschooling first. The person who gave that speech, Jocelyn Keller, was the first individual to ever use Loom in the classroom. And remember, in the spring of 2020, this was a face-to-face course. I was teaching a Monday night course. The pandemic came along and we had to switch in midstream from being face-to-face in Overstreet Hall with a podium, with classmates, to doing something virtually. You have online public speaking courses like this one, but you can understand the challenge that these people had. So let me show you Jocelyn's speech informing us about homeschooling. She places her visual in the upper left-hand corner. Once we start, I will go full screen, but this is during the pandemic, spring of 2020, an informative speech, as you can see, homeschooling in the United States. Here is an example of an informative presentation.
My name is Jocelyn Keller, and today I'm presenting Homeschooling in the United States. In 2016, there were an estimated 1.7 million homeschoolers in the U.S. That is double the amount present in 2000, which points to the ever-increasing trend of alternative education. Homeschooling is essentially described as parent, guardian, or tutor-led education of a student from within their own home. In 2016, most homeschoolers consisted of white or Latino students. Rural areas and families with 3 or more children are more likely to be homeschoolers. Many homeschoolers have in common that they've been in the public education system for at least some time. There are many motives for homeschooling. Religion usually seems to be the main one. In 2012, 64% of homeschoolers had religious motives for homeschooling their family. This decreased to 51% in 2016. Evangelical Christianity makes up most of this 51%. The quality of life The quality of environment of the local public school is the most shared reason of motive to homeschool family. Academia is one as well. Some families believe that they would be able to better educate their children than the public education system can. And many other things that could be traveling or chronic illness, etc. There are quite a few advantages to homeschooling, no one can deny that. There is the opportunity for one-on-one learning and more of a focus on the student-specific needs and learning styles. Potentially helpful for people with physical or learning disabilities that aren't accommodated for at a public school. There is lots of freedom to set your own pace. If you need to take your time, you can do that, and if you want to speed it up, you can do that too. And homeschoolers, therefore, are able to advance much more quickly than students of public schools as they can do extra work, for example, through the weekend or through the summer break. Research notes that their advantages are mainly based off of small class sizes, individualized instruction, or more academic time spent on the core subjects such as reading and writing. There are quite a few disadvantages as well. First one being the overall very low legal standards. There is not always a required certified teacher, potentially unreliable information, I would guess. There is also the potential avenue for abuse of homeschooled children and students, and socialization issues with students who are isolated. There is the cost to homeschoolers, which is pretty high whenever you have a big family like mine, where my mother had 8 children and homeschooled them all at the price of $600 per student annually, and that added up, especially with the fact that homeschool parents still pay taxes to public schools but don't take advantage of it. UC Berkeley political scientist Reppert said this: "Homeschooling can result in biased students, as many homeschooling parents view the education of their children as a matter properly under their own control and no one else's."
Family values to their children also. But a debate is raging across the nation over whether the government has the right to regulate homeschooling. Some states require homeschool students to pass early exams, while 11 states do not even require families to register with any agency in order to homeschool their child. Virginia is considered a state with moderate regulation. Katrina Hecht, who homeschools her 10-year-old twins, says it's her right as an American to homeschool.
Being an American and enjoying the freedoms that we have here, I'm so grateful that I have the choice of how to educate and train my children, and one of those options is to be at home.
But others, like homeschool alumni Sarah Jones, say a lack of regulation leaves homeschooling open to failure.
In order to qualify for a teaching job in any other educational environment, you do have to go to college. You have to pass basic tests, and you're subject to oversight. And I don't think it makes any sense for homeschool parents to be subjected to less regulation.
Critics also say
Regulation of homeschooling in the U.S. There are states that require no regulation at all, which is requiring no notice of homeschooling your child. 12 states have no regulation. 16 states have low regulation, which is a mere notice of homeschooling your child to the government. 16 states have moderate regulation, which includes sending a letter of notification to the state, test scores, and a professional evaluation of your student's progress. And unfortunately, there is 6 states with high regulation. They require that there's a notification of enrollment in homeschooling. There's an achievement test score, professional evaluation, plus other requirements, including requirements on the curriculum, the teacher qualification of parents or whoever, or home visits by state officials. And my homeschooling experience. I spent 10 years being homeschooled, first by my mother, then online content and programs, and then myself. I found it very difficult to homeschool myself. I skipped grades in elementary. I was able to choose the basic direction of my education. An example, choosing which books I want to read from which grade I would prefer. I temporarily attended a private school in 6th grade and found myself struggling very, very much on the basic tenets of elementary education. That was very embarrassing, and that was really when I started to notice maybe something wasn't right. I was taught religious pseudoscience. It wasn't until college that I was taught empirical science, and it has definitely been an eye-opening time. I was socially isolated and felt trapped in a very uncomfortable and stressful home environment, unfortunately. Um, while I did score above my age in most tests, I still felt that I was not properly educated to the extent that I could see other people were. And that is all. Thank you very much. 16, there were an
What I find fascinating with her particular presentation is she incorporates personal research on homeschooling at the end of her presentation. You'll also notice that she included a video clip, which is part of the interactivity that you can incorporate into any of your graded speeches. Most of the time for demonstrating, you're taking personal videos or something from online, as we just saw with the waxing speech, and placing it directly in the slide. In her case, this is in the early days of the pandemic, and we really did not understand that if you're going to bring in audio from another video source, you need to make certain that your headphones are plugged into your computer. That's why we're getting a little bit of an echo. I strongly encourage you to utilize interactivity, like in that case, a little bit from a news story, if it's appropriate to the topic. Let's go ahead and mute this, put on closed captioning, go to the beginning, check out her complete sentence structure. Placing the webcam in the upper left-hand corner works for her. Having general information with a number of bullet points gives you the opportunity not only to pick and choose, but also it's going to help with filling the time. It's not unusual, and this is a little bit over 7 minutes. It's not unusual for informative speeches to be a little bit longer, especially if you bring in a little bit of outside audio and video. That's not a problem whatsoever. Let's go ahead and just scroll through some of the advantages, disadvantages. Notice the eye contact is really consistent all the way through. No real issues with lapses of thought, losing her place, items like grammar or slang or drop G's or vocalics can be easily corrected. Notice she took the video clip and placed it into her slides. I'm guessing this is Microsoft PowerPoint. Being able to play that, watching it in real time as I'm doing, watching her, is appropriate for the occasion. It all depends. Whenever we go back to Blackboard Ultra, notice the specific list of topics that I have selected. Intentionally one from every time I've taught the course over the past 3.5 years. Then we get back to regulation. This is where the research comes in. That's what's going to give you gravitas or source credibility when it comes to an informative topic. So not only is she doing research with bullet points, with graphics, including a legend of states with no notice of homeschooling, low regulation, moderate regulation, high regulation, and then her experience, which is quite helpful, especially that she found herself really struggling whenever she started to attend school in 6th grade, and that by her own admission, she had been taught pseudoscience at home instead of empirical science in schools. And that's the last minute of her speech. It's not unusual for all of us when we're thinking of something to say, examining the webcam, looking off into the distance, thinking about what she wants to say in addition to the bullet points, and discussing the topic. Let's take off the closed captioning and listen one more time to her conclusion.
Which books I want to read from which grade I would prefer. I temporarily attended a private school in 6th grade and found myself struggling very, very much on the basic tenets of elementary education. That was very embarrassing, and that was really when I started to notice maybe something wasn't right. I was taught religious pseudoscience. It wasn't until college that I was taught empirical science, and it has definitely been an eye-opening time. I was socially isolated and felt trapped in a very uncomfortable and stressful home environment, unfortunately. While I did score above my age in most tests, I still felt that I was not properly educated to the extent that I could see other people were. And that is all.
I would prefer that she wait a couple of seconds, but like I said, she was the first person to ever send me anything on Loom, which I really appreciated. So I've always given her credit for that. If you ever have a YouTube channel, it's not unusual for some of the documentation to be automatically generated in chapters. Introduction, motivations, advantages, disadvantages, regulation, and her homeschooling experience. It's really nice. And most of you are going to have some type of an online social presence. Now let's move to a second previous example of an informative speech. This was homeschooling in the United States from spring of 2020. The next one you're going to see was 1 year later, from the spring of 2021. She's not using Loom. Here's what she did. This is Talissa. She's using Microsoft SharePoint, but not the format with a webcam. She used the technology to send it to me. In this particular case, her audio is a little bit low because of her recording on a cell phone. I'm going to leave the closed captioning on during the entire presentation, but the sickle cell trait runs in her family, and she wanted to inform the audience about this particular topic. It's not unusual for health speeches to be a prime component of topics for informative speeches. So from the spring of 2021, this is Talissa Mitchell, who has since graduated from Southern Arkansas University. She is informing us about sickle cell anemia, and here it is.
Hi, my name is Talissa Mitchell, and I will be doing my informative speech on sickle cell anemia. Why I chose this topic? I chose this topic because it's very personal to me, because I have sickle cell trait, to which I inherited from my father. I also chose this topic because I want to get a better understanding of the difference between sickle cell trait and sickle cell disease and what comes with both of them. What is sickle cell anemia? Sickle cell anemia, or sickle cell disease, are odd-shaped structures of red blood cells that result in blockage of blood flow to different cells and blood vessels on the body, whereas sickle cell traits are combinations of altered hemoglobin and normal hemoglobin that results in sickle cell traits. So, in other words, sickle cell disease are blood cells that are only croissant shaped. They are abnormal, whereas with the sickle cell trait, you have both abnormal and regular blood cells, and they're easier to flow through your body. And as you can tell from the photo up here, this is what normal red blood cells look like, and these are what sickle cell blood cells look like, which are croissant shaped or maybe crescent moon shaped, you could say. Another thing I would like to add is that if you have the disease or trait, you will know within 1 to 5 months of you being born. So if you have the sickle cell disease, you're gonna know because it's gonna attack your body, and it comes with many problems and many symptoms. Who is the disease targeted to? The disease is targeted to African Americans, as you can see from the chart. And I'm not quite sure why it's specifically targeted to African Americans. I assume that is simply because all of us African Americans have a lot of things in our blood that are the same, to which we catch either this disease or we inherit this trait. And another thing I found that was interesting is that this trait is also, or disease, is mostly targeted to men. As I said, I inherited it from my father, to which I do believe that to be true, that it is mostly targeted to men. How can you get the sickle cell disease? Well, there are 3 scenarios that come with how you can inherit the disease. So the first scenario is 50% chance of you inheriting the disease. And that is simply because if one parent has the trait, you have a 50% of either catching the disease, of inheriting the trait, or not inheriting the trait at all. The second scenario is if both parents have the trait. And the trait is very harmful to your body. It doesn't do anything to you. You wouldn't even know you had it. And basically what happens is if one parent has the sickle cell trait and the other has sickle cell trait, it could combine and make the child have the sickle cell disease. So be careful who you marry if you have a sickle cell trait, and be careful who you have children with if you have the sickle cell trait or disease, because you could inherit it to your child, and your child could become very ill or very sickly. And the last scenario, which in my opinion is the worst, is if one parent has the disease and the other parent has the trait. And that is a 50% chance, which I feel as though it should be 60 or 70% because it's very high risk. So basically what this is, if you have the sickle cell disease and you have the sickle cell trait, and the other parent has the sickle cell trait, then the child, in my opinion, is more than likely to get the sickle cell disease. And I'm saying this because with the sickle cell disease, as I said earlier, you have only abnormal blood cells. Whereas when you have the sickle cell trait, you have abnormal and regular blood cells. And I feel as though it's like in math when things cancel each other out. So I feel as though since you have the sickle cell disease that has already abnormal blood cells, only abnormal blood cells, where you have a sickle cell trait, which also has part abnormal blood cells, going to cancel out, and the child is going to have sickle cell disease. And something interesting that I found out with the first scenario being if one parent has the trait, then the child has 50% of catching it or inheriting it, is that, like I said earlier, I inherited the trait from my father, and me and my brother are 9 years apart, and he didn't inherit it at all. He didn't inherit the trait, he didn't inherit the disease, he has nothing at all, which I found was odd. And I did a little further investigation research, and there's nothing really to say why this or why that, but I hope the research comes up eventually. How does the trait affect someone that has it? It doesn't. As it says, no harm, no symptoms, no problem. It's like you don't have it at all. Nothing at all. There may be things in your life that pop up that show that, oh, maybe this happened because I had the trait, but that's it. How does the disease affect someone that has it? So if you have the sickle cell disease, it really affects your immune system and many things in your body. And some of the symptoms are infections, fatigue, joint pain, delayed development, urination problems, yellow jaundice, and many other things. And something else I want to add is that with having either the trait or the disease, it's uncurable. You're going to have it the rest of your life. You're just going to have to deal with it. And with me saying that, I'm not meaning in a bad way, but it could be a lot worse. Having the disease or trait, they both are able to maintain, because the trait you have no problems with, the disease you have a full blown problems, which they can be tamed and you'll be perfectly fine. And something I want to add is that I had one of these symptoms, but with me having the sickle cell trait, I had yellow jaundice when I was a child, and that's basically when you're born with some type of less pigmentation, very white, yellowish pale skin. Your eyes aren't fully dilated, they're very yellow or very white. And the doctor told my mom that to prevent this and to help it, just for me to sit in the sunlight for a couple of hours a day, 1 hour a day. And as you can tell, I'm perfectly fine now. So I hope you guys learned something from what I said today about the difference between the sickle cell disease and the sickle cell trait. And I hope you guys take that along.
There are three things that are immediately noticeable when you watch Talissa's informative speech on sickle cell anemia. Obviously, she knows the topic very well because she has the trait. Second, look at her eyes. The concentration that she has all the way through in focusing on being extemporaneous, because if you are, the conversationality is going to flow. You can tell that by the complete sentence structure on the bottom of the screen all the way through, and by the detailed storytelling with quality visuals, including the background of her slides. So now let's pay attention. We'll take the closed captioning off in this case. Go to the beginning of her speech, mute the audio, and as we do with just about everyone, pay particular attention to her eye contact. She has, I believe, her television screen now utilized for the slides. Very easy to see. If she were taking this class today, I would probably encourage her to use Loom technology. You'd probably notice that on at least two different occasions during her presentation, because her voice is a little on the faint side, I'm guessing that whenever I watch the playback later on of the Loom recording, it will be okay. But I was actually listening to it in my headphones, and her voice is a little bit harder to hear the further away she is from, in this case, recording off of her cell phone. Now, whenever you're looking at some of her slides, what is it? Who is the disease targeted at? How you can get it? The different scenarios. How does it affect someone that has it? I thought she talked about this really well. Some of the differences between who does and does not have it and their family. And her final slide, right there. As we saw with previous speakers like Jocelyn, whenever you're looking off into the distance, it usually means you're concentrating and trying to think of something that reinforces the point. So those are two examples, one from spring of 2020, one from spring 2021, of informative speeches. Now let's go to Blackboard Ultra for this reason. And I always pause for a moment to make certain that you're seeing what I am. Previous examples of student speech videos going back to 2020. We have history of the Nintendo Wii console, asthma, history of black hair, sickle cell anemia, which we just saw, emotional intelligence, speech disorders, living with an anxiety disorder. Hard to believe that was 4 years ago this week. Heartworm disease, homeschooling in the United States, how COVID-19 affected NCAA sports. Heartworm disease and how COVID affected NCAA sports. These three, including Jocelyn, were all from the spring of 2020, and I included those for a particular reason. A couple of these were not recorded on Loom, but you can be creative if you don't necessarily have that technology available. Now, when you scroll up in the student preview mode at the course syllabus, you have getting started video tutorials on Loom. I told you on Thursday that I was going to click on this in class and play the first 2 videos for the record into a class session. Here's the website. I'm not going to make it full screen, but I am going to play them in their entirety. This is getting started, and it's 6 minutes in length.
First, an introduction to our different recorders. We have 3 different recorders you can choose from. The first is our desktop app, which downloads directly to your device. And this is my personal favorite because it has additional features like the drawing tool and speaker notes. Then we have our Chrome extension, which downloads directly to the Chrome browser. And this has seamless integrations with sites like Gmail. If you're on the go, you can download our mobile apps that are available on iOS and Android devices. Before you hit record, you're going to want to first take a look at the different capture modes you can record with. You can record in screen and cam mode like I'm doing now by first choosing which part of your screen you want to capture. You can capture your full screen, a specific window, or if you're on our business or enterprise plan, you can use our custom size feature. Then you'll want to choose your camera source. If you only want to record your screen, you can go ahead and toggle off your camera here. If you want to record in our cam only mode, you can also do that here under your screen options. Then you'll want to choose your microphone source. If you want to take your camera bubble a step further, you can add different effects. You can add backgrounds, or if you want a bit of pizzazz, you can add a frame. If you're recording with the desktop app, you'll have the option to record with speaker notes, which you can jot down any thoughts that you want to reference during your recording. And don't worry, this won't be visible in your final recording. You can also add a canvas background to your recording or a text layout if you want to jot down a few notes for your viewers. At the top right-hand corner here, you can further edit your recording settings by enhancing your recording with auto lighting. Under the Video and Audio tab, you can edit your video quality. Under the Preferences tab, you can check if you automatically have updates installed. You can also customize your keyboard shortcuts. Once you're ready to record, go ahead and click Start. Once you start recording, you'll see a control bar where you can track your recording time, and you can move this anywhere on your screen that best suits your recording. If you need a moment to collect your thoughts, you can always use our pause button here and resume at any moment. If you want to restart your recording because you made a few mishaps in the beginning, you can use the restart button, or if you want to completely scrap your recording, you can use the cancel option. If you're on our business, education, or enterprise plan, you can use our drawing tool to highlight certain features on your screen. And my personal favorite is the confetti feature for a bit of celebration in your recording. Once you're finished recording, you can click the red button here and you'll instantly be redirected to your video share page. From your video share page, you can further edit your video and change the video privacy settings. The first thing I like to do is change my video title to something a bit more personal and engaging for my viewers. You can add a call to action button to your video if you're on an enterprise or business plan. If you made a few mishaps during the beginning or middle of your video, you can use our trim feature here. If you want to change the thumbnail of your video to your brand logo, you can go ahead and do that here as well. One note is this is only available to business and enterprise plans. Under the video settings tab down here, you can further enhance your recording by removing filler words or enabling or disabling the animated thumbnail option. Under the audience tab, you can choose how your viewers interact with your video by enabling or disabling comments, emoji reactions, and more. The easiest way to share your video is to copy the link here. You can further edit your privacy settings under the share button here. You can choose to add your video to a space within your workspace. You can make your video private by changing the setting to only people added can access, or if you want to make it public, you can change it to anyone with a link can view. Under the more options, you can add a password if you're on a business or enterprise plan. If you want to share your video to a social site, you can do that under the Socials tab here. You can embed to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, or Gmail. If you need to embed your video into a website, you can grab the embed code here. And that about does it. Thanks so much for watching, and happy looming!
Now keep in mind, when you're watching some of these tutorial videos, there may be some bells and whistles that the people on camera are using that maybe you don't have. She was showing a couple of items that even I with a paid subscription to Loom don't have. But at least you know about it. Worst case scenario, I would at least make certain that I bookmarked my library. Save everything, even though I'm going to save everything that you send me myself for the course videos. Here we have how to record your first video, and it is 4 minutes in length.
Hey, Chanel here from the Loom team. I'm going to walk you through how to record with the Loom desktop app. Once you open the desktop app, you'll be presented with your pre-recording menu. Here you can choose which capture mode you want to record in. You can record in screen and cam mode like I'm doing right now by first choosing which part of your screen you want to capture. You can capture your full screen, a specific window, or if you're on our business or enterprise plan, you can use our custom size feature to drag and select a specific part of your screen to record. Then you'll want to choose your camera source. If you only want to record your screen, you can go ahead and toggle your camera off here. You also have the option to record in cam only mode by going back to your screen options and clicking cam only here. Then you'll want to choose your microphone source. You can check that your audio is being detected with the waveform here. If you want to take your camera bubble a step forward, you can add effects. You can add backgrounds. My personal favorite is the blurred background for more of a polished look. You can also add frames for a bit more fun. If you're recording a longer video and want to jot down some of your thoughts to reference during your recording, you can use our speaker notes. And don't worry, anything you note here will not be visible in your final recording. You can also add a canvas background. I'm currently using the splash background, but you can add text to your background if you want to leave a note for your viewers as well. At the top right-hand corner here, you can further edit your recording settings. You can further enhance your recording by touching up your appearance, adjusting for auto lighting. You can also hide your recording controls. One note here is if you have this enabled, your control bar will still be visible, but don't worry, it will be hidden in your final recording. Under the Video and Audio tab, you can adjust your video quality. You can also remove the recording countdown and flip your camera. Under the Preferences tab here, you can edit your keyboard shortcuts to control your recording. Once you're satisfied with your recording settings, go ahead and start, and you'll be provided with a short countdown to collect your thoughts. And now we're recording. You'll notice your control bar over here can be moved anywhere on your screen to best suit your recording. You can always pause your recording using the control bar if you need a few moments to collect your thoughts. If you want to completely restart your recording, you can also do that here. If you made a few mishaps during your recording and you want to completely scrap it, you can use the cancel button here. If you're on our business or enterprise plan, you can use our draw feature to highlight a specific part of your screen. And my personal favorite is our confetti feature, where you can add a bit of celebration to any recording. And once you're satisfied, you can go ahead and finish, and you'll instantly be able to share out your video. Thanks for watching, and happy recording.
When you scroll down beyond this point from the link available at Blackboard Ultra, other video clips that I've shown you last week, but for our benefit, at least to include in a class session how you can record your first video and how to get started are really essential, because the more that you feel comfortable with the technology, the better your overall presentations are going to be. That ideally is going to be the case as we progress, because we're almost at the halfway point of the first summer session as of today. Let us conclude by returning to Blackboard Ultra. There's always a little bit of a pause. This technology is a little bit different than what I have done in the past online, whether it be Blackboard Video or Blackboard Collaborate Video. It's not quite as user-friendly. It's not too bad. So all the way down in the student preview mode of Blackboard Ultra, these are going to be more populated as the weeks go on. We have a couple of examples of student presentations demonstrated from last week. All of the demonstrative examples that you can check right now, informative for this week. The instructor course videos, with today being posted very soon. All of this material as well. We'll look at the website tomorrow for different ideas for informative speech topic selection coming up. My YouTube channel as well. The module overview we've already examined, but I'll scroll back up to the top for this reason. We'll end it with the gradebook. The next time you are online, it's a good idea to go to the gradebook to check what your demonstrative speech scores are. You did very well. Usually, as I told you, what is going to be a challenge is if there are no slides or you run significantly under time. As we progress toward the informative presentations this week, you'll want to practice and make certain that the 4 minutes is not really an issue. Depending upon your slides and interactivity or news material or audio or video that you include, It pretty much is a buffer, so you don't have to worry about time management, but start to practice. Start thinking about ideas. That extra 24 hours, instead of going Wednesday, everyone going on Thursday, really does help. And little things like experimenting, like I have, with the location of your webcam in relation to where all of your text and images are on slides. It really does come into play. I have here the official course roster, and I have heard from everyone in the class except, I believe, one person. So please make certain that if you have any connectivity problems or there is an issue with recording or sending me something, that you please contact me, especially during the summer. I'm very empathetic when it comes to that. So don't stress if you haven't contacted me yet, but please make certain that you do so ASAP. We will continue on Tuesday with informative speech topic selection, looking at different types of ideas and structure that people have put together for informative speeches in years gone by. Good luck, and that concludes the recording session for today.